Very good. So, I can't see very well, but we're going to start with our basic scissor sweep and scissor sweep variation, as well as a triangle setup from the scissor sweep. So I want to go through a couple of, let's move this way just a little bit. We're going to go through a couple of different ideas as far as how the sweep works, how the variation works, little things you can do to kind of tweak it, especially against a larger opponent, and then setting up an attack on top of that initial sweep setup to give you more options. So whenever we're doing the scissor sweep, we want to make sure we establish our grips first. Remember, whenever my opponent is sitting upright, it's going to be a lot easier for them to start mounting an offense, like working a pass, trying to break my guard open. Anything like that is going to start with them having a good posture. So whenever I get someone in my guard, immediately I want to make sure I want to break them down. Remember, if they're far enough away and I'm having a difficult time grabbing them here, I can grab a hold of a sleeve, two sleeves, and I'm going to use my legs to pull her forward. So if I'm grabbing hold of the sleeves here, I want to pop the hands out and pull my partner forward with my legs. Immediately, once her head is straight over my face here, I want to reach up and grab a hold of her head. Now I can start working my game, working my offense, working my sweeps, working my attacks. We always want to try to start breaking our partner down. Anytime we have someone in our guard, we want to try to break them down as quickly as possible. It shuts down their offense and makes it more difficult for them to do anything. Does it stop it? Not at all. But we want to slow them down so that they actually have to answer to us instead of us responding to them. Remember, anytime that you're responding to what your opponent does, regardless of whether you're on top or on bottom, you are losing, even if it's just a little bit. We want to be in action, not in reaction. Anytime we're in reaction, our chances are diminished. Even if it's only by a little bit, our chances are diminished. We want to be moving forward, always trying to set up a good, strong offense, always trying to break our partner down. So from here, I'm grabbing a hold, I'm pulling my partner forward, I'm breaking down her posture. Now I can start working. Now, right now she's going to be fighting to try to get her posture back. If you guys notice, I have a nice solid grip on the sleeve here. As she's starting to posture up, I'm transferring my hand to the back of her head to the lapel right here. Now as she's starting to push her posture up all the way, I can open up my guard, hip escape, and I'm going to bring my knee up across her chest like so. So the way I explain this is you want to think of it being like a bandolier. Like when if you guys know, everybody knows who Chewbacca is, that thing that he wears is called a bandolier. So what I want to do is I want to make my leg like a bandolier. I want to go from shoulder to hip with my foot. And what I'm doing with my foot is I'm actually catching her. I'm curling my toes back around her back here. This is going to set up my offense and make it a little bit easier for me to actually sweep her over. If I'm actually hooking on her hip, it's easier for me to sweep. From here, my bottom leg drops, and now I'm going to kick my leg up and over. So I'm kicking my leg up and over, and my bottom leg is scissoring back behind her. So from here, I go like so. Once I get my partner swept, I want to follow my leg up into the mount. Followed up into the mount. Remember, anytime we get into the mounted position, immediately once we get there, chest low, arms wide. Chest low, arms wide. So that's the basic sweep. My leg comes across, I scissor my legs, which hence the name scissor sweep, and then I try to follow up on top. But the truth is that when you first learn this and it's using it against other white belts, it's relatively easy to hit because people don't know how to base out or anything like that. It's a pretty easy sweep. I remember when I first learned this as a white belt and I was training with other white belts, I used to hit it all the time because it was really easy to hit. Anytime we learn a technique, you want to try to use it as much as possible right away. That way you start to develop some motor muscle memory where the more you practice it, the less you have to think about it, and the more success you're going to have with it. So that's the basic idea with the sweep, is we're just scissoring our legs and we're pulling our partner over. Now, when it starts to come into a problem is that when my partner recognizes my setup and they start to base out a little bit. And what I mean by base out is she's actually going to sink her hips a little bit and widen out her knees. So when I get my scissor sweep, I want to try to, the heavier my partner is on top, the harder it is to sweep their legs out. So I need to kind of make them a little bit lighter, which means messing with their center of gravity. So instead of just scissoring this time, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull my partner forward just a little bit. And it doesn't need to be super far, especially with somebody that's bigger than me. I don't want to pull the 300-pound person up over the top of me and then try to sweep them. I want to just try to get them off their base, meaning I want to get their center of gravity just a little bit out in front of their hips. So once again, I have my partner in my guard. I want to break their posture down. I can either grab a hold of the sleeves. Hey, why don't we try something different? I sit up and I grab the outsides of the elbows. I'm going underneath, and now I'm popping the elbows out and using my legs to pull my partner forward. Immediately, I'm looking to grab a hold of my partner's head here, and I'm starting to find my collar grip, or excuse me, find my sleeve grip here. As she starts to posture up, I'm giving her resistance, not just letting her push away, but I'm giving her resistance enough so that I control the motion, so that when she gets to the point, the highest point where I want her to get, I can immediately start working my hip escape. So go ahead, keep posturing. So from here, I come out and I start to hip escape. My hand is still on the neck here. I'm just sliding down and finding the lapel. One more time from here, I bring my knee up nice and high, get that bandolier action. Now, as far as the hand placement goes, I can either grab over my knee or under my knee. It's a matter of what you prefer. It's personal choice. I'm comfortable either way, quite honestly, but you may have a preference, and it's totally fine. Just mess with it and see what works best for you. So from here, now my partner's going to base out a little bit, meaning she's going to sit her hips heavy, and now when I try to just scissor, I can't get it. It's difficult because she's being heavy and I haven't really disrupted her center of gravity at all. So now I got to disrupt her center of gravity. This is part of the reason why I hook my foot on her hip, is because this actually helps me pull her forward. Now I'm not only using my hand, but I have the back of my foot on her hip here as I pull her forward. So from here, as she's basing out, I pull her forward just a little bit. I don't need to get her super far. I only moved her maybe 6 inches, if that. So from here, I pull her forward. She's still trying to sit heavy on her hips. I just scissor my legs and follow up. So that's level 2. Level 2 is I'm not able to just scissor my legs. I actually have to pull my partner's base a little bit. So our last step on this is if we have somebody that's really heavy, and we're going to have Chelsea do these 3 variations that I'm going to talk her through so you guys can see. I'm a lot heavier than she is. I probably outweigh her by 60, 70 pounds anyway. And so when I do this, it's going to be, so when she tries to base out with me, it's still a little bit easier for me because I'm a lot bigger than she is. But when I base out for her, it's going to be more difficult. So we need to use these little tricks that'll help her actually complete the sweep. So the last, I don't necessarily know if it's a variation, but the last kind of step on this is I want to try to arch my back, and I'm going to look up over my shoulder. So from here, my partner's doing a good job of keeping her base. She's got her hands on my hips. Her head is above her hips, so I need to break her down. So from here, I sit up, grab the outsides of her elbows here, pop out, pull forward with my legs. Immediately, my hand comes to the back of the head here. My other hand, I immediately start looking for the sleeve. She starts to posture up. I'm holding her, slowing her down, controlling her motion. I'm not trying to stop her. I'm just trying to slow her down to the point where I feel like I have control. So from here, she postures the rest of the way up. I immediately open up, hip escape, finding the sleeve, driving the knee across, or finding the lapel, driving the knee across. Now, this last one, she's going to go, or that last one, she's really going to base out, so it's going to be difficult for me to pull her off her base at all. So if I try to pull here, she's going to pull. I can't quite get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull her forward, and then as I'm pulling her forward, I'm actually going to look up over my shoulder. I'm going to bring my head up really high here, and I'm going to arch my back. And so what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to pull her forward just a few millimeters more and make the sweep even easier. Basically what it does is it causes my spine to help the twist to kick my leg. So from here, she's heavy base. I pull, I can't quite get it. Drop my leg, I'm gonna look up over my shoulder here and kick all the way through. So it's a timing thing. As I'm arching my back and looking over my shoulder, I'm kicking my leg over. And sometimes you get a little bit of resistance, just as you saw where I kind of had to pause for a second. All I did was just re-steady myself and keep going. And you're going to be able to finish it. So we'll do that part one more time, and then we're going to allow Chelsea to try this. So from here, is there anybody chatting? Anybody said anything?
Taylor said nice board in the background.
Thank you. It was a gift. So from here, hand on, oh sorry, we're going to break her posture down first. So from here, I want to sit up. I'm grabbing the outsides of the elbows here. I'm pulling forward, pulling my partner, breaking my partner's posture down. My free hand goes to find the sleeve. Chelsea starts to push herself away. As she's pushing herself away, once she gets to that point where I feel ready, break open my guard, hip escape, find the lapel. From here, she sits heavy, heavy, heavy on her hips. Heavy on her hips. I'm trying to pull. I can't quite get it. So I want to pull her forward just a hair. And then I want to start arching my back and looking to kick. So I pull her forward, arching my back, and kick over. So it really makes a big difference as far as the technique goes, is arching your back. And if you just want to go to that straight away, that's totally fine. That doesn't make it incorrect. But sometimes you can kind of get that leg kick relatively quickly if someone is not paying attention, or you're kind of in that transition of them coming up. Their center of gravity isn't quite below their hips. It's kind of forward a little bit, and you can kind of get that as like a quick sweep. So that's that first setup. The second setup we had, my partner was kind of expecting my sweep a little bit and kind of sitting heavy. So this time what they had to do, what I had to do for the person doing the sweep is I had to pull you forward and getting my center of gravity out in front of me here. And then when you go to sweep the legs out, it's a lot easier to do so. And then that final step is where someone is very difficult, sitting back very far, basically not allowing you to sweep, or not allowing you to pull them forward. So or really fighting hard for that. So the idea is that I just gotta disrupt their base just a little bit here, and then they get their sweep. So let's try this. Let's try this first sweep, second sweep, and third sweep. All the same thing. And like I said, you can use any of these steps at any point. It's just a matter of using or practicing the technique. And the more you practice it, the easier things will become, and you won't really need to think about it anymore. So I'm starting here with my hands on the hips. I have my nice posture. Chelsea's going to go to break me down. She pulls here. Hand goes to the back of the head. She's already got a hold of my sleeve here, so this is perfect. From here, I'm going to posture myself up. So remember, she's hooking onto my head. She's controlling my motion. She's not allowing me just to sit up. Once I get to that point where she feels comfortable with it, she can transfer her hand. She's going to open up her guard, and she's going to hip escape out to the side just a hair. Very nice. From here, she's got that bandolier across my chest. Her foot is hooked on my hip on the far side here, and her knee is about even with my shoulder. Her foot is about even with my hip. Her leg then drops to the floor here, and now she's going to scissor her legs and pull me over. Perfect. Very nice. So that's the first motion. That's the basic motion. The next step is if my partner's base is sitting heavy, we need to try to disrupt their base a little bit and pull them forward once more. So from here, she grabs a hold, pops my elbows, pulls me forward. Remember, use your legs to pull your partner forward. It's super, super simple, but it makes a huge difference. A lot of people have a hard time with, especially when they first start. So we want to make sure we're using our legs. Anytime we're in someone's guard, or when you have your guard established, it's your whole body that uses it. It's not just crossing your feet and holding on with your legs. It's actually your whole body, your arms, your legs, your hips, your abdomen. Everything is in use. Don't be lazy in your guard. You have to be active in your guard. So Chelsea pulls me forward here. She grabs hold of my sleeve. She's got a good control of the back of my neck here. I start to try to posture up. She's controlling. As I switch, I get my posture, but Chelsea already transfers. She hip escapes. Good. So from here, I'm sitting heavy on my base. She tries to just kick me over. It's not working so well. So this time she's got to pull me forward. Remember, she's going to use her hand and the back of her foot as she's pulling me forward. Go ahead. Now she goes to scissor. Perfect. Very nice. So if you guys saw, she actually needed to use that a little bit because, like I said, I'm so much bigger than she is. It really does. You need that little extra oomph to try to turn your partner over. So this last step is, like I said, because I'm so much bigger than her, she really needs to arch her back and look away. She's going to look back over her shoulder and arch her back as she's starting to get the scissor sweep in. So I have my posture. She goes to break me down. She's got a good control of my sleeve. She's got the back of my head. Hands on the hips. I start to try to posture up. As I'm posturing, she transfers her grip, opens up her guard, hip escape, leg comes across. She drops her leg to the floor here. Now she's going to try the initial sweep. She can't get it. I'm doing a really good job of basing out. So she tries to pull me forward a little bit. And I'm really fighting her. She tries to sweep. She's not having it. So last part, she's going to really pull and arch her back. Now this is all one motion. She's going to pull, arch her back, and look over her shoulder towards the corner here. Go ahead. There it is. Nice. And that's it. Perfect. So what we want to do, thank you. So what we want to do, and then like I said, this is especially important with larger opponents. We want to try to get them off their base, and that's where the sweep happens. Anytime someone's center of gravity is directly below their hips, it makes it a lot more difficult to sweep them. So what we want to do is we want to try to disrupt their base, and then we get hook in our sweep. So the idea being is we want to try to make this one smooth motion. And so repetition, 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 repetition. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. The more you do it and the less you have to think about it, the more it becomes a part of your arsenal. And when all of a sudden you're starting to throw sweeps, when you don't even think about it, that's where your things are really starting to cook for you. So our next is going to be the scissor sweep variation. So scissor sweep variation, we start with our regular scissor sweep setup. So Chelsea's going to have a nice base here, hands around my hips. I want to sit up, find a hold of the lapel. I'm going to grab the outside of her elbow here. I'm going to pop and pull with my legs right here. So as far as setting this sweep up, it doesn't matter if I do it this way, if I grab both of her elbows, if I just grab the back of her head and break her down. I'm just giving you guys different options as far as breaking my partner down. It doesn't really matter. From here, I already, based on my the way I broke my partner down, I already have a hold of her sleeve, or excuse me, a hold of her lapel here, and then my second hand finds a hold of her sleeve here. From here, she starts to posture up. Now, I really like this grip, especially when she's posturing up, only because I feel like I have enough control where it's easier for me to really start to set up my sweep as she's really posturing away. So from here, I come back up. Now, we're going to go for the first sweep, and she's going to sit heavy. And I'm going to, instead of going through and trying to pull this off, and I could, I can kick the leg out instead. So from here, I drop my leg. I want to look up over my shoulder here, and she's doing a really good job of killing my sweep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my knee up to my chest. My foot goes to her knee here, and now I'm going to kick her knee out. So when you're doing this, let your partner know, especially when you're drilling, what you're doing, because she can sit heavy here. I'm just telling her to sit heavy and not do anything. But if I kick really hard, I could hurt her hip a little bit here. So I just want to tell her, I'm going to kick your leg out. Just relax and it's going to be fine. So from here, she's sitting heavy. I can't get the sweep, so I kick through and scissor my leg once again. So the idea being is that the first sweep, if you could sit facing the camera, please. So my first sweep, her center, the first sweep, her center of gravity is right below her hips here. And all I'm doing is I'm basically pulling her forward, and that moves her center of gravity from beneath her hips out to the front of her a little bit right here, and that allows me to scissor her legs. This time, I'm actually moving her leg, which changes her center of gravity. So her center of gravity is still underneath her hips, but what I'm doing when I kick her leg out, I'm actually shifting her hips, which then changes where her center of gravity is in comparison to her body, which allows me to sweep her over. It's a very simple idea, but if you can wrap your mind around it, you can use that to set up all kinds of different sweeps. You can use it anytime you try to sweep someone, is where's their center of gravity? I just need to get them out from underneath it, or I need to get underneath their center of gravity. So let's do that one more time, and then we'll give Chelsea an opportunity to hit it. So from here, my partner's hands are on my hips. She's doing a good job of keeping her posture up. I'm gonna sit up, 2 hands on the back of the head. Call this one the plum from Muay Thai, where you're using 2 hands here. There's a little, for a lot of men, there's a little nub right here in the back of the head. $5 word for it. Occipital protuberance. So I'm basically putting my hands, I'm cupping around that occipital protuberance, a little nubbin in the back of the head there. I have 2 hands that are grabbing a hold. I like that nubbin. So from 2 hands in the back of the head. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to pull her straight down, I'm actually going to pull her up and around. It's a very small movement, but as I sit up here, I want to pull my partner's head up, and then I pull it forward here, and I can break her down relatively easily. Once again, transferring, my hand stays in the back of the head here. As Chelsea's posturing up, I'm finding a hold of her sleeve here. As she postures, I'm controlling the motion, sliding my hands down, hip escape, setting up my sweep here. Let's go over the knee this time, or under the knee this time. So from right here, I'm trying my sweep. I can't quite get it. I'm trying my my third option, where I'm looking up high over my shoulder. I still can't get it. I transfer my foot, and now once again, I'm kicking out towards the corner and scissoring my legs. So, as I said, all we're doing is shifting where the person's center of gravity is in relation to their hips. Once we can do that, a lot of sweeps are going to become a lot easier. So from here, I have a nice good posture. Chelsea goes to break me down. 2 hands, good. So remember, we want to go up and over. That's it right there, perfect, good. She transfers her hand to my sleeve. She's still got control of the back of my head. As I start to posture up here, she transfers her hand. She then opens up her guard. Very nice, good. So from here, she's going to try her first sweep. Can't get it. She tries for the third one, where she looks over the shoulder. Still can't get it. She's going to then bring her knee to her chest. She's going to kick my leg out towards the corner of the room. Here, now she's going to scissor. Beautiful. Good. So this is actually a little bit more difficult if you do it slow. So we're going to allow Chelsea to do it a little faster here without me talking her through. You don't need me to talk you through it? Okay. She's going to do it a little faster here and just go through the motion. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to focus on trying to keep my hips nice and low, keeping my center of gravity underneath me, and we're going to see Chelsea do the sweep here. Nice. Good. Very good. Awesome. So that's your scissor sweep and your scissor sweep variation. Those I used to use those a lot. I still do use them on occasion. I'm a really big fan of fundamentals. The thing is, like, to me, there's a lot of the newer sport style Jiu Jitsu is awesome. It's beautiful. It is so cool to watch guys go like inverting and legs going everywhere. I really like that a lot, and I actually try to do that when I roll from time to time. It's definitely not when I started jiu-jitsu, fundamentals is always, actually everywhere I've trained, it's always been really important, and I see this moving forward as far as like the flexibility, the being able to do those crazy moves. the truth is though, I like I said, I love that stuff. I think it's really cool. I enjoy doing it when I do train. But we want to be able to be. Jiu-Jitsu was made for self-defense. I mean that's the bottom line. It was originally designed for a street fight, and we're not like inverting out on the street is not really an option, especially on pavement and gravel. That'd be a really good way to really rash up your upper back and neck really quickly, and also catch a few punches in the face. So fundamentals, I'm a huge fan of, and I to this day still practice fundamentals. It's really important in my personal opinion. And so don't cut yourself short and really focus on just doing the fancy stuff. Really get the basics down, because when you get that down, everything else becomes easier. When you practice fundamentals, it actually makes that fancy stuff, it makes it better, because you understand the fundamental movements, you understand the fundamental techniques. You can take that understanding and really apply it to everything else, and it makes a really big difference. So don't sell yourself short on that. So let's do the last thing I wanted to cover today, which was the triangle setup from the scissor sweep. Excuse me, triangle from the scissor sweep setup. So so this is a really nice setup because I can use my knee as my way of as setting up my attack. Anytime you can link more than one move together, it makes that a very potent move for you to go after. When you have something like when you have your scissor sweep and your scissor sweep variation, that's awesome. That's a really good skill set to have. And then adding attacks on top of a similar setup, whether it be other sweeps, submissions, whatever, really is going to take your game to the next level, because the more options you have from one position, the more dangerous you become. And so we want to try to make ourselves as well-rounded as possible. We want to try to work both top and bottom game. There's so much to learn. That's why it takes so long to become a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, is because there's so much. And more stuff is coming out all the time. All right, so I don't need to go off on a tangent. So from here, I want to break my partner down one more time here. So let's just we're going to go grab a hold of the back of the head again. So I'm going to sit up, two hands. I'm cupping behind her head here. Remember, I'm pulling up and then over. And it's a small up. I'm not trying to lift her head up off her shoulders. I'm just trying to get like even just a millimeter of movement upwards, and then pulling it up over that hill here. So from here, I transfer my hands. One hand stays behind the head here. The second hand goes to the sleeve. As Chelsea starts to posture up, I'm controlling her posture. I'm controlling her motion here. As I'm allowing her to come up, I sit, transfer here. Now, this one in particular, this is going to be easier for you to get this if your knee is above your hand. Now, can I still do it here? Absolutely. It's just going to take an extra second or so to kind of develop. It doesn't make it wrong. It's going to be faster if I'm like this. I can still do it from here. As a matter of fact, we're going to do the first one from this position. But I'll show you the second time. It's just a little bit faster. So from here, once again, I want to make sure my foot is hooking. This is an important detail. It does make a difference. It does help control your partner just a little bit more. I said I was going to do it from under. So from here, I'm going to go for my scissor sweep variation, any of those things. What I'm going to do, all I want to do is I just want to disrupt her. And this is where strategy comes into play. If I'm disrupting her, if immediately I get to this position and she sits hard, meaning she sits heavy on her hips here, she's not going to go anywhere. She's like, you're not going to sweep me for anything. That's totally fine. All I'm going to do is I'm going to drive my knee across her chest. So from here, I'm sitting up, I'm trying to go. I'm going to flip, drive my knee across the chest, and from here, I swing my leg up, and over to right here. Now, close up my triangle here, and now I'm going to find my angles. Hip up and over, bringing that leg over, grabbing a hold of my ankle. I'm actually going to dive my hand underneath here and get my angle here. Now I go for my close. Hips up, head down, squeeze, and I get my tap. So when you're doing this, be aware. I am a lot taller than Chelsea. So when I drive my knee across, I'm actually driving my knee across her face. It's totally fine. This is training, not a big deal. But you want to be polite to your partner, because you're going to tell them, say, hey, I'm going to bring my knee across. You might want to move your face out of the way. If you're actually just rolling, it's kind of fair play. But when you're just drilling like this, don't just drive your knee across their face and look at them like, "What? It's not my problem." Be polite with your partner. So from here, guard is closed up. I sit up, grabbing a hold of the back of the head, up and over, breaking my partner's posture down. From here, transferring the hand to the sleeve, she starts to posture up. As she's posturing up, I find my hand to the sleeve, open up my guard, hip escape here, bring my knee across. This time I'm going to go over the top of my hand. It's going to be a little easier setup, you're going to see here. So from here, I go for my scissor sweep. She's sitting hard. I'm going to drive my knee across. So with my foot hooked on the hip, I'm driving my knee across, and now I'm going to swing my foot out and over. So let's go through that motion again. Let's change the angle. Stand that way. So my partner's already postured themselves up here. I've had my grips. I'm gonna open up my guard, hip escape. I'm gonna bring my knee out here. Notice my knee is over my hand. I can do it either way. I'm just gonna do it this way this time. So from here, I go for my scissor sweep. I can't quite get it. So I'm gonna drive my knee across. So I drive my knee across. I'm gonna loop my leg out, swing, and close up my triangle. From here, pulling the arm across, reach up, find a hold of my own ankle, get that angle for your triangle, close it up, knees together, hips up, and she taps. I didn't even have to use my hand. So it's an important part of your triangle is your angle. We don't want to, whenever we get into our triangle position, we don't want to be parallel with our partner. We actually want to be perpendicular, where if it's this arm that's in, the person doing the triangle, their head is over here, or vice versa, their head's over here doing the triangle. So Chelsea's going to get this. Close. Cross your feet. Cross your feet. Cross your feet. Hold them. All right, so from here, she goes to break my posture down. Control my head. Good. She transfers her hand to my head and my sleeve. I start to posture up. Remember, she's controlling the motion. She's not allowing. When she's ready, she grabs a hold of the sleeves, opens up her guard, hip escape. Good. Knee comes across. Very nice. So from here, I recognize this position as being my the scissor sweep position. So I'm just going to sit heavy with my hips. And Chelsea doesn't like that very much. So what she's going to do is she's going to drive her knee across this way. There you go. Yep. Circle your foot out. Go over the top. There it is. Good. Close it up. Very nice. Do you want to do it? So you got to get at an angle here. At this top. Okay. Angle there. So remember, we always want to make sure we get to that angle in the triangle. We don't want to be north-south. We want to get to that angle. Not to say that you can't finish it north-south. You most definitely can. But you're going to have a lot higher percentage is when you get that angle. So one more time here. Out. So you got to bring that knee up. This knee has got to be up over my shoulder. Yep. And then too far. So look, out there. There you go. There you go. Circle it out. There you go. Good. Try it again. Try that setup again. There it is. There it is. Yeah. That's it. There you go. So, as you can see, it's totally fine. You just need to bringing that leg over the shoulder, and it's a little bit more difficult when you're drilling because I'm just kind of sitting there lazily. If you notice, let me get in here real quick. if you notice when I'm here, if this shoulder is kind of not active for her. She's just kind of sitting there waiting for me to go. So when I drive my knee across here and then swing my leg out and over, it almost doesn't seem realistic. But the truth is like with her free hand here, with her free arm, she may be grabbing a hold of my pants. She may be trying to hug my hip. Any of these things are fine. All I'm going to do is I just need to clear my knee over her shoulder, and then I'm going to swing my foot out and around. So I'm bringing my heel to my butt as I'm trying to get my foot around her hand. Once I get my foot around her hand, it's going to be a lot easier. So from here, I'm going to bring my knee out here, and now watch. I'm going to drive through, kick the leg over, and come through. So let's try that again. Go ahead and lift my foot. There you go. Good. So from here, I'm going to drive my knee across here, and now watch. It may help to actually pull her forward, and I'm going to drive my knee across and then circle my foot out. So I drive my knee across, circle my foot out, and come through. Just takes practice. Practice. And the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. And that goes with everything in Jiu Jitsu. Practice. Repetition.